When you look at the 60s and you look at documentaries and books and things, most of them are either about the politics or they're about the music. Very, very few are about what that revolution that really happened where we did turn inward as a culture, a large part of us, and it's still impacting and influencing us now. It was a very tumultuous time. It looks like a really happy time when you look back. And in some ways it was. I mean, we had the Vietnam War. 50,000 people were killed and people were drafted. So it's not like they went voluntarily off to war. And a lot of them came back, wounded and certainly psychologically damaged. But it was people in crisis, when a bunch of us were sort of having an identity crisis, kind of a nervous breakdown. India had been a quest of mine for at least a year and a half. It was a retreat, but it was far away in a foreign land, an exotic land, and it was for 3.5 months. Very intense course. Everybody was there for introspection. Maharishi set it up so that the people who lived in close proximity to each other, 3 or 4 of them, would look after each other. And in my case, I was divided into a group of 3. We were called course buddies. And my course buddies were John and George. After a lecture in the beginning of the course, we would go back to our rooms and discuss together what was covered in the lecture. But of course, we would get into, other subjects of importance to us. What I found when we would have our talks is that John was more of an observer of what George and I would heatedly and passionately discuss. John kept saying, "I'm here because of George." He really admired George. I think he found in George a noble hero. He found somebody who could believe in something as intangible as the human spirit, that spirituality. George believed in that with such passion, and yet it's so intangible, but with such passion that I heard him say several times he wanted to dedicate his life to awakening the world to the deeper values, the more universal values that we share as human beings. Maharishi shortly realized that a lot of us coming from the West, even though we were young, we had enormous amounts of stress. So he had us doing yoga too. You meditate for, maybe 20 minutes, and then you do some yoga, and then you go right back into meditation. You do that all day long. And John and George did 8 hours a day for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Donovan taught John how to do this special picking that actually comes from the gypsies, and he learned it in Europe when he traveled with the gypsies when he was very young. And he showed it to John, and the first time John ever uses it and that it really starts to be known is in the song Dear Prudence. I was doing intense meditation and I had a lot of stress. So there was a period there where it was overwhelming for me. And John saw that. And I think that inspired him to write the song because he saw my absolute commitment to what I was doing and my intensity to achieve whatever it took to make me whole again. He wrote that with a kind of kindness, like you feel for a child. The sun is bright and the daisy chains, and it's all very much like a child, a child's world. It's not complicated. It's not being judged. It's just accepted and lived. The words come out to play are important, I think, because what does it mean? What does it mean to be more enlightened? It really does mean to be able to play. It had a taste of that sort of spirituality of which the course was about. The course was about, meditation and going deep inside. I felt happy that the song that was written for me was the one that captured the most that spirit of that course, which was so amazing. And that's why meditation and the things that we brought out in the 60s, that was really the message. We can make a better world. It's not a dream.